Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story, and I actually have two moon decks that I've recently gotten. One is Moonology and one is Queen of the Moon Oracle. And so I'm going to put these, I think, up the same day because I've had a couple questions about this one, and this is another Moon Oracle that I do have. So I thought, putting them up together or at the same day, people can make decisions that way if they want to look at the two of them. So that's kind of my plan. So the first one that I'm going to take a look at is Queen of the Moon Oracle, which is a deck by Stacey DeMarco. Now, Stacey DeMarco does another deck that I absolutely love, which is the Halloween Oracle. That is one of my favorite Oracle decks. Absolutely love it. And so I was excited to see her name on this. This is a deck by Rockpool Publishing. Rockpool Publishing sent me this deck to do a review of the deck, and so just to be clear about that. But as soon as I saw her name, I was like, oh, that's exciting, because I did really love the structure. Obviously that deck used a different artist who's amazing, and I love his artwork. But she, ordered the deck and, ordered it, you know what I'm saying? She set it up, and I love the keywords in that deck, the Halloween Oracle, and I love how it reads. So I was really excited to see her name here. The artwork is not by the same artist. This is, I'm guessing, by, okay, here it is, Kinga Britsky. Kinga Britsky. There are 44 cards. The art is much more of a digital collage, digital manipulation kind of deck. On the artwork. It is very surrealist, which in many ways works really well with this moon deck, which should be kind of dreamy and that type of thing. Some of the artwork, is not my favorite, simply because that's not a favorite art style of mine. That's going to be purely subjective. So I don't really want to grade the deck, so to speak, or review the deck based on the artwork only, because that is extremely subjective. You might particularly love an art style that I don't particularly like. I might particularly love an art style that you think, whoa, why does she love that art style? So that's really subjective. But I can look at the art in terms of consistency across all of them. Some of the cards are absolutely stunning, and some of them don't seem as up to par as others. But overall, I do think the style of artwork works with the theme. So I'll say that. The other thing is because I wasn't sure, because this wasn't an art style that I normally, I'm drawn to, I did want to give this a chance. So this is not a first impressions. I've actually used this deck, and I've done some readings with it, and I'm really happy with it. I will say that I don't generally use this type of deck for readings. Decks that are moon cycles, decks that are astrologically based decks, I generally use them to pull a card to reflect what's going on in the world around me. But I did want to give this a chance as an oracle deck, and I found it to be, I think, because again, I really do like Stacey DeMarco's way that she put together at least the Halloween Oracle. I did find this to be an interesting read. So let's go ahead and get into it. I wanted to state all that as I got into it. The box is beautiful. I love Rockpool Publishing's boxes. I generally absolutely love their guidebooks. The only thing about Rockpool Publishing decks that aren't my favorite is the glossy cards. And again, that's subjective. Some people love the glossy cards, other people do not. Because I have a unique, not unique, but I guess unique to somebody who's just using these personally. I do have a pretty specific light setup for recording videos and doing readings. So glossy cards tend to be a little problematic for me because of the way my lights are set up. However, I have absolutely used the heck out of my cosmic reading cards, and now the second one, the Blue Messiah, that goes with those, which are Rockpool Publishing. Love those, and I use them a lot. And the cardstock has held up really well. The laminate has not been hasn't peeled or gotten chipped or anything like that. Those have been well used, and the cards are in great condition. And I'm a riffle shuffler. And I use them even with the gloss. So that's just, again, subjective. But that would be the only thing. I love Rockpool Publishing decks. And every single one I get, they are very often ones that I would maybe not have picked up in the store. Somebody gave me the Cosmic Reading cards, and I probably wouldn't have picked those up. And I love them as soon as I started working with them. And it's one of my favorite Oracle decks. So there is something to be said for, even though something may not be your particular art style, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's not going, or you don't like glossy cards or something like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't going to be an amazing deck to read with. And that's a lesson I've learned quite firmly. So there we have it. So the box is wonderful. It's sometimes Rockpool Publishing has the beautiful magnet on the side, the bigger boxes, but I quite like when they do the littler boxes as well. And this one is particularly, I like that it folds over, and you can see that sort of universe artwork that folds over the edge. So beautiful box, feels very matte, and then it has that beautiful gilded relief. So gorgeous box. I really like the back. They did do the preview cards that you see in a lot of boxes, but it has this beautiful big full moon behind it, which is wonderful. Stacy DeMarco, the Modern Witch, is the author of the annual lunar and seasonal diary. So this is somebody who works with moon energy a lot, which I think is wonderful. The perfect companion to this this card deck. Artwork is by, I already said, has 44 cards and and the guidebook. The guidebook is beautiful. I mean, again, I'm a big fan of Rockpool Publishing guidebooks. You have color inserts. You have these lovely little you know, I don't know what you call those, but they're little things like that, and that little bit of pop of that same color throughout, that just, you know, it's just those little things. I think that people don't often realize how much, that Supermoon card is gorgeous, how much those little touches really take a deck that is not an expensive deck. Does this have the retail? I'll have to look it up. But, you know, these aren't overly expensive decks. And just gives it that extra pop. That gives it that extra, like, oh, this is really lovely. Stacey's been teaching witchcraft for over 20 years. She is the author of the bestsellers Witch in the Boardroom, Witch in the Bedroom, and The Coffee Oracle. And I'm not familiar with any of those. She's a co-writer of No Excuses Guide to Soulmate, No Excuses Guide to Work and Purpose. She does the lunar and seasonal diary. Obviously, she also does the Halloween Oracle, which is through, I think, Blue Angel, so that's not mentioned here. The artist is a Hungarian artist who has lived with her American husband in the United States since 1995. She has two big passions in life, art and linguistics. She's been involved with digital art, so this is what the style is, and she creates commercial graphics for many clients. So yeah, it's that digital art style that's there. Beautiful picture here on the front. So love this, and we'll read again, as I try to usually do, read the front cover, or the first card, just so you get a feel. I think I'm going to wait for the full moon, because that's my favorite moon cycle, so I think we'll read the one for the full moon. The backing is gorgeous. It looks in my viewfinder like it's blowing the color out, but sometimes that's just a viewfinder, not the video. It is a deep indigo blue with the full moon cycle and those same art insignias that are on the pages. It's gorgeous. Really a perfect backing for a moon deck. Absolutely love it. A little bit of a gloss to it. Again, this is, you know, Rockpool Publishing has glossy cards. It could be glossier. It's more, it could be glossier. I've seen glossier, but it is glossy. On the fronts, let's zoom in here. I absolutely love the sort of title and numbering setup. These are titled and numbered, which makes them very easy to find in the guidebook. It's just a single, like, almost looks like you're seeing this moon's path. with a number, and then on the either side we have these little moon graphics, crescent moon graphics with the title in between. It's simple. The rest of it is just borderless, and I think it's gorgeous. That is a big plus for me. So now this, let's just talk for a second about this deck. There are 3 kinds of cards in this deck. There are the lunar cycle cards, which is a full cycle from the dark moon and back. So there are 1 through 28. Let's go. So 1 through 28, going back to waning crescent 5. 1 through 28 is the whole moon cycle. So you can put these in order and pull them out for each of the days, right, as you're going through the cycle. I've done this with other decks, and it's a really great way to kind of do a little quick journal entry about it and keep, you know, kind of immerse yourself in the moon cycle. So it has that for the first 28 cards. Then there are the seasonal, I might have these in a different order. Here we have the different moons: wolf moon, snow moon, worm moon. We're going to go through these, right? So we have the different moons, which are based on, I believe, the Native American. Of course, there are many different Native American probably connotations or names for the moons. We'll look at that in a minute. And then there are some extra, like the long night moon. That might be one of the moons. I'm guessing that's one of the seasonal moons. So then we have Queen of the Moon and the Lunar God. So these are like extra cards. So we have the masculine and feminine side of the moon, which I think is fantastic. Again, this is absolutely stunning. This actually isn't bad in terms of digital art. Again, that's just personal preference here. But look at the moons in the corners. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well. But we have the masculine and the feminine aspect of the moon, which is beautiful. We usually only see about the feminine, but, you know, the moonlight is reflective sunlight, which is, you know, traditionally masculine. So I love that both of those are there. And then we have a blue moon for the unexpected, which I think the image is beautiful here. And then this is one of my favorite images for the super moon for attraction. Again, we've kind of skipped ahead on those 4, but that's because I wanted to show how the deck was set up. So sorry about that. A little sneak peek before we do a quick flip through. So let me get myself around here. So what you're going to see is multiple crescents, waxing, waning crescents, gibbous, because there are multiple days in which the moon is in these phases. I really recommend, I use Deluxe Moon app, but I really recommend getting a moon app because you can follow in your time zone, you know, exactly what the moons are, when they're turning, and then having a deck like this that you can pull the card out and set it out for each of those days through a whole cycle is a great way to sort of get your feet into or refresh yourself, or just kind of really get in touch on a day-to-day basis with the moon cycles. So here we have the dark of the moon, which sometimes decks don't have. You will see that if you can look in the upper right hand corner of the deck, you're going to see how it always reflects the moon that it's talking about, and I really like that aspect of this deck. So in the guidebook, which I'm going to wait for the full moon to read the whole thing, but you do have the name of it plus the, you know, what the title is here, and then you get a bit of a statement of how you might work with that particular energy. I you know, really highly recommend that you start there, but don't be afraid to work with what energy works with you on a moon cycle. And so I do encourage going through a whole moon cycle with an app or a deck or something, and kind of keep note of your own energy during that particular day, and sort of start to develop how you react to the different cycles as well. But this is a good place to start. So this is about, I freely release what I no longer need with the void. So this is the day just before the new moon. So then we have the new moon. The only thing that I have about this is that this moon looks like a full moon to me, and this is should be quite dark. I mean, it is a dark sky, but you should only be seeing a sliver. And so image wise, for fitting with the card. This is one that's, I still like the concept of the card because we have the knight and you're kind of moving into these new beginnings through this archway. So I do like the concept of the card. I just wish that looked like a new moon, because most of the other moons in the deck, you know, look like they're moons. But we do have the new moon. I actually really love this image here for the waxing crescent one. So now we're going to go through a series of waxing crescent moons because that's how the cycle goes, right? So now you can see that waxing crescent there. There's the first one. The second one is a little bit larger, right? The third one is a little bit larger. I think there's 5. The fourth one's a little bit larger, and the fifth moon is even more larger, and then it goes in, nope, number 6 is even larger, and then we go into the first quarter moon. So you can see right from the corners how that moon is growing. So that's something that I really enjoy about this particular deck. So here we have the first waxing crescent with realization. Love this image. We have acceptance. I love this image. We have growth here. I think that's really gorgeous. This one, not so much, but I'm not personally a fan of a lot of times when there's just random ladies in cards, but it's about self-love, and she is kind of hugging herself. So there is that sense of that there. So at least it goes with the image. And it's a beautiful image. I quite like this. Nourishment, all of this amazing nourishing energy, fruits in her hand. So it does give you that sense of that. I love this, the path. In this deck, where this deck image-wise really shines for me are in these cool surrealistic, because that feels like moon energy, right? I do really like that. Where there's these little random doorways. I really like that about this particular energy or imagery. This is one of my least favorites just because I think there's a couple that for me don't feel as well developed as the others. Such as, this one is well developed, but it feels a little bit more kind of stuck on the top and less integrated. But for the most part, it's still, and this image of a woman with a skirt with a balloon, it's, you know, what I feel like we see a lot of, but it's still beautiful. I love the sky of it. So we have assessing moon. So then we get to discernment, and we have, so now we're switching. So we have gone to the first quarter moon, and then we're switching into the waxing gibbous, right? So now it's starting to round itself out here, and we have discernment. We have fear. I actually really like this fear with this in the inside here, is because it just talks about, it to me shows how fear is really very often a very internal thing. Sometimes as a result of external stimuli, but not always. So again, we're on waxing gibbous. Now we're going to 2. You can see it's growing. Boundaries. Will. Focus. Action. This is beautifully expressive of action, in my opinion. And then here's the full moon with power. So let me go here real quick, and let's go ahead and read the text. So the keyword is power. Step into your true power. Shine brightly. Do not hide who and what you are. The time is right to attract big things for yourself. Ancestral energy is important. Open your mind to larger possibilities. Big magic can be wrought. The phrase is, I have power. It is real. Go outside on a clear night and look up. Hopefully you will see the stars a twinkling. If you're really lucky, you might see the swirling Milky Way spilling across the darkness. And then there she is, the big full moon, unmistakable in her glory and power. She moves the earth itself, stabilizes it into orbit. She releases and pulls the seas. She is the object of devotion, the inspiration of poems, the realm of goddesses. And she has witnessed the very first of us rise up on two legs and venerate her. Generation after generation, we have stood barefoot under the same moon, wishing, setting intentions, dancing, and drawing her graceful power. You are made of the very swirling matter that is the stuff of stars. I say this to my daughter, although I say she's the stuff of fairies because we have a fairy queen in our ancestry. You are pure possibility, changing constantly, renewing and transforming. Take this moment to recognize that power and rejoice in it, for your next step is a precursor to your future self. And then it does give you for each of the cards a companion stone or metal. And for this one, it is moonstone, of which I do have a piece of, thanks to my friend Patrick. So I think that's really beautifully written and is an example of what you get here. Very powerful. You are the stuff of moon dust. Here we have self-reflection, which I think is very interesting. There's a lot you can do here. I am not afraid to look deeply at myself in all aspects. Here we have pleasure. Her head's tilted back, her arms are wide open. We have all of this energy just bouncing off her. We are now in waning gibbous, so now we are going to start to see things get smaller and smaller in the corner. Here we have balance with waning gibbous 3. We have beauty with waning gibbous 4. Let's see what the message here is. I see beauty everywhere and it raises my vibration. So you can see this card looks very unlike the rest of the card. I think it's a cool image, but it doesn't necessarily look like the rest of the deck. And I think the floral part of it makes it does feel more like sunlight, but there are flowers in the deck, right? I don't know that there would be butterflies flying around, but here we have resilience. Very, very Ten of Swords, Rider-Waite-Smith Ten of Swords feel. I am strong and resilient. Wisdom, she's reaching for the moon. I love that she's standing on a pile of books. Again, this is a very surrealistic art style, and I do think it goes well. The idea of surrealism goes really well with Moon deck. We're still in the waning gibbous phase. Whoops. Here we are, waning gibbous. This is one of my least favorites. Again, I don't feel like it is perhaps as well done. This idea of gratitude is wonderful. I joyfully turn my attention to what I'm grateful for. I love the older hand and the younger hand. This is quite out of focus on purpose, but it feels, it's not my favorite in terms of the art style. Love this protection. So now we're going to waning crescent. So we've gotten out of the gibbous and we're going to start getting those slivers smaller and smaller. Here we have waning crescent resistance. Again, this is one that does feel like it's daylight even though it's moonlight and it's a crescent moon. You know, little things like that. Here we have surrender. I really like this because it looks like for me, it looks to be like a Buddhist nun, which I think is beautiful. Release. Peace. That's really beautiful. And then we get to the different moons. Now I think that she talks about, let me go over here to the beginning. It says the seasonal lunar cards are based on the First Nations Lakota meaning. So I do like that. The continent of America is a large continent, and so Native American tribes in the swamps of Florida are going to be very different than what would have been in the area of New York and currently in the United States. So that they aren't all going to have their same systems of belief and same names and meanings of things. Yes, there are things that cross over because, like other disparate cultural groups, they intermingled with each other through migration, through stealing, women for wives, through capturing people in the midst of battle and integrating them into the tribe, and all the various ways in which over time people have cross-mingled. So there are a lot of overlapping themes, but that doesn't mean all of the names and all of the things are going to be the same. So I do like that she said these are specifically First Nations Lakota meanings. These are Native American terms that have been passed down from generation to generation, entering into the popular culture in the early 18th century. So that's what we have here. The wolf moon for hunger, which is gorgeous. The snow moon for purity. That's a beautiful image. Faith, the worm moon for faith, or the key word is faith. Beautiful. Kind of a Gaia feel, or a little bit of the empressy kind of feel that when you get the pregnant empress. Trust. I'm not entirely sure what I'm looking at here. Oh, she's got her, okay. So we have a duck. The ducks are outside. We have a person within the egg with their legs kind of pulled up. I couldn't tell what I was looking at, if she was laying on someone with their arms around them, but like the person is in, the ducks are taking care of the person in the egg. Oh, I'm sorry. And this is the egg moon. Then we have the flower moon. This is really beautiful. Again, very surrealistic, absolutely gorgeous. Here we have the hot moon for extremes. Let's see what they say, because that's obviously a little bit romance novel cover. He definitely looks hot in both literally and figuratively. Let's see. I handle extremes with grace, yet I seek balance in all things. Learn how to handle crises with calm. He doesn't, to me, look like he is in crisis. He looks like he's hot. There are better ways to handle conflict than rage and outrage. There may be someone who seeks to disrupt your business or life in some way. This too shall pass. So yeah, it's talking about extremes in weather, extremes in emotions, which can be passions as well, right? That can be all different things. But definitely, the only one so far that I would say looks, kind of like a romance novel cover. Change. That's a beautiful image there. The thunder moon for change. The green corn moon for patience. Again, really cool setup of these of many of these cards. Harvest moon for fruition. There's a lot of decks I feel like that use this sort of woman with crazy head pieces things. There's one of them, it's a beautiful deck, but it's like, that's all it is people with crazy head dresses like that. But I like that this is used sparingly in this deck, and it makes sense in Harvest Moon to have that sort of abundance of harvest there. Here we have the Hunter Moon for abundance. It's really gorgeous. That looks like fall, more fall energy there. Green corn, Harvest Moon, Hunter Moon. I am abundant and I am surrounded by opportunity, and it has the stone of citrine. I love that. The Beaver Moon for creation. I like this. She looks like she's dreaming either of her an architectural, how she's going to build things or sculpt things. So it does have that sense of creation. I am a mighty creator or creatrix. It is my birthright to create. This is beautiful. The long night moon for darkness. It's a gorgeous image. And then, of course, the ones that we talked about, we have sovereignty for the queen. We have the masculine for the lunar god. We have the blue moon for the unexpected. And then we have the absolutely gorgeous supermoon for attraction. So I'm going to zoom back out. So these are really beautiful. Truly, out of the 44 cards, this isn't, I don't dislike this image, but it doesn't feel like the rest of the deck as much, but it's fine. This I just feel like isn't the best. It's a little too blurry. There's kind of a little something there that just doesn't. And this does to me look a little bit like a romance novel. That doesn't mean that's necessarily a bad thing. It's just what those pop out. So that's only 3 of them. So I'm really happy with that. Let me give these a good shot. I will definitely be trimming these in a beautiful indigo, which I think I have somewhere. I like, again, you know, I'm not a huge fan of glossy cardstock, but I do like how Rockco Publishing decks shuffle. I think they shuffle really well. My larger, you know, the Blue Messiah and the Cosmic Moon are much larger cards, and I can corner or side shuffle those really well. And like I said, they've actually held up really well to riffle shuffling. So I'm quite happy with that. So other than the fact that they're a little glossier than my light setup loves, I do actually like Rockco Publishing cardstock. Once more, I just wanted to give it a good shuffle since they are all in order. Now obviously if you're going to kind of work your way through the cycle, you're going to want to not shuffle those together, but I did want to give, let's see what spreads are in here. There is a full moon 3-card draw. Let's take a look at that because I actually do that a lot. I do what to let go of, what to hold on to, and what to lean into. But let's so when I do 3 cards, I like to split it this way, then at the split, and then at the bottom. So let's see, what are these? So the first card is the heart of the issue or the question. So this is about trust. At the heart of whatever the issue might be is trust. And then the second card is, what is the challenge? The challenge is that perhaps what is needed in the situation is for an unexpected thing to come into play. You know, one of the things I love when you're doing a Geomancy Shield and you perfect the chart, you can see the way that certain things might come about. You might have to do the work to do it. Somebody else might have to do the work to make it happen. A third party might have to come in, or something completely out of the blue happens. And this is that idea of, in order for something to continue and move forward, there's going to have to be a little bit of that unexpected or a little bit of randomness that is going to have to occur to move the situation forward. And then the third card is the solution with the void. Now, this is one of the ones in which, you know, the keyword doesn't as much tell you. Most of them do, but the keyword doesn't as much tell you. So this could be this idea of the sentence here is, I freely release what I no longer need. So the solution is something needs to be let go of before you're going to get that first hint on the edge of the moon in order to have things start to progress. So something unexpected is going to happen, but on your part, you're going to have to do that aspect of releasing some old things that are maybe making it hard for you to be able to trust. So again, it reads really well. So I have had this for quite a while now, maybe a month. I don't know exactly, but I've had it for maybe a month, and I actually find that it reads really well because, again, I do think Stacy, at least my experience with Stacy DeMarco through the Halloween Oracle, is that is a deck where the keywords and the cards they really mesh really well into great readings, and I do think that this is another example of that. Now let me just do this other one. There's a 4-element spread where, of course, you just have the 4 elements. This is something I do a lot. So I'm not doing 3. So I'm going to do them in the order that I do them, which is not the same. But fire, air, water, because I do it Geomancy order for me personally. But they have earth, air, fire, and water. But, you know, again, I'll do it my way. So for me, I would look, fire is about creation, right? It's about creativity. So there needs to come to some peace with that creative, transformative part of yourself. This is something I actually need a message on. Air is in the head. It's time for wisdom, not pure intellect, right? Not pure knowledge, but wisdom. Let's bring our brain to a place in which we are being wise. Not smart and wise are two different things. And some wisdom is needed in the mind. In the position of, interesting, in the position of emotions is that will, that sense of, instead of letting your emotions drive you, you are going to drive, you're going to be in the seat, you're going to be that chariot driver in tarot, right? That is going to be driving your own emotions instead of being driven by your emotions. I think that's really powerful. And then in the position of earth, the physical world, it's time to set your boundaries, right? It's time to set some boundaries in life to be able to move forward. Again, very readable, very, very readable. So I'm happy to see that. I know there were some people who had questions about this, so I wanted to, again, give it a chance in terms of reading so that I could answer that question a little bit better for people versus a first impressions. There are also a 7-card spread and a full lunar cycle spread. You definitely need a table to do that. And then a seasonal spread. Positive aspect, a difficulty, and then this is going to give you some idea about timing, but this has you pull specific cards there. So nice chunk of spreads, which I like to see in an oracle deck versus just a 3-card pull, even though that's traditionally what I do with decks. So I'm actually really happy with this deck. I'm happy to have it. I'm glad that that Rockwell Publishing sent it to me to be able to take a look at it for you guys. And I hope that this helps you in terms of making a decision on where to put your money, right? Because in the end, that's what these are all about. So I hope you have an absolutely wonderful rest of your day.